Saturn in Aquarius 28. A tree felled and sawed. I haven't really spoken much yet about the expressions. The Sabian symbols, 30 to a zodiac sign, are batched in groups of 5. So there are 6 expressions for each of the zodiac signs. And if we want to understand how each of the Sabian symbols represents the meaning of the zodiac sign in some subtle way, we have to look at it at different dimensions. It's not a sequence. And it's not obvious that each of the Sabian symbols relates to that zodiac sign until you look at the next dimension of understanding, which is expressions. Dayton Rudyard introduced this idea, but he didn't give names to them. So the names that I've chosen are my take on what the central meaning is of that batch of Sabian symbols. And here we have a batch of Sabian symbols which I've called alchemy. Notwithstanding that this particular degree, the 28th degree, is very pragmatic. Aquarius 28, a tree felled and sawed. Careful use of natural resources. Working in a forest to make a generous woodpile is a wonderfully fulfilling experience. It requires mental clarity to employ machinery, usually camaraderie between men, foresight and muscular strength, and is profoundly enhanced by the knowledge that the task's result is to offer warmth to one's family and community. If this task is undertaken only when the weather gets cold, then it is too late, because there is a process to go through, including allowing a period of months for the wood to season. We need to remember in springtime the winter is coming and do whatever necessary, even though it feels non-urgent. Winter is coming. I've heard that somewhere else. A tree felled and sawed to ensure a supply of wood for the winter. This actually expands our perception, and we can see more deeply. And it also talks of our ability to concentrate as well. I've done this. I had a wonderful period of years when I was living in Lithuania, and I had a 15-hectare span of forest to take care of. That was a requirement of ownership. You had to take care of your land in Lithuania. Nice idea. And so the forest had not been taken care of for some 60 years. And we had to clean it up, to remove the dead wood and clean the forest up so it had more light and freedom to grow, and made it more healthy. And I spent many, many days, weeks, just burning off dead wood, cleaning the forest, and providing firewood as a result of that. It's just what awakened me to a new dimension of spirituality. And this is the point here that is made in Zen. Chop wood, carry water. What we do before our spiritual realization and what we do after it doesn't really change. It is the way that we do it that changes. And when I was working in the forest, I overcame certain reluctance to be physical, and it was hard work. So I had to muster my will to start the job. But when I got into the rhythm of the thing, it was really fairly beautiful. It was a wonderful thing to just see what would be possible and what would not be possible, and what would happen tomorrow if I left the fire overnight. Would it be safe? Was it going to rain? Did I want to actually protect the fire from going out during the evening and so on? I got to start to think about the future in a very simple way. In other words, spring is here. That means winter is coming, albeit 6 months from now. Nevertheless, it's time to get going on cutting wood. Now, winter is coming. We have spoken of this often. The end game is being played. And it's not the end of humanity. It's not the end of existence, I don't think. It's the end game for this ridiculous period of humanity's history when we've been spending too much and having too many things and having very little involvement in natural processes. We can't do that anymore. We had a try. We've taken the industrial era to its ridiculous conclusion, where everything that we have available can be replaced overnight, online, very cheaply. We throw away new clothes. Well, I don't, but some people throw away new clothes rather than wash them because it's just so cheap to replace. It's a very silly state of being our species has got to. And that has to do with not being aware of the implications of what today means. Now, of course, it is a spiritual principle that present-centered consciousness is the end result of our spiritual work. We're here and now. We actually focus here and now. But a part of the here and now is that there are tracks into what we consider to be the future. Certain things must occur, such as seasonal variations, such as winter following autumn and so on. This is not much assimilated into consciousness by most people. They tend to think of the future long term. I need to put away for my pension. Those who do that, and not everybody does that, they just trust the government to take care of them or something. That's not it. What we need to do is to live so well now, to make things exactly right now, such that for generations after generations, the way that we live has no negative impact. This is the Native American approach. Think about what you're doing in terms of the implications over the following 7 generations. Now, the reason we don't do that is not lack of understanding or lack of wisdom even. It's fear. The reason why climate change is not being addressed, actually, it's a very expensive thing to address. And it's not only that we need even more things to rescue us from poverty, which is absurd nowadays for most of us in the West. What we actually have to think about is that on the national level, if a country reduces its wealth, it becomes more vulnerable to invasion or usurping of power from other countries who don't do that. So we either do this together, or actually nobody's inclined to do it at all. And that beingness as one, that unification into group consciousness, is a major feature of our spiritual evolution. We can't really evolve very easily or very far individually. We have to interact with people. Guidance is necessary for one thing, but more than that, there is something about a group consciousness that develops when a group of people are actually on the same page. They're in alignment. Now here we have in the climate change scenario no alignment. So actually there's still war going on in the world against each other. Whereas actually the threat, the biggest threat of all, is that we are at war with each other. We need to deal with the climate. And there may be other features like alien invasion and so on, which groups together the species of humanity into a group consciousness. And without that, we have no possibility really of moving into the species' highest aspirations of what humanity really means. This isn't really emphasized in what Jones has written. He's made a different point. Aquarius 28, a tree felled and sawed. This is a symbol of the employment of a lesser reality for the development and sustainment of a greater, and of the individual's ability in a crisis to center his attention on the pressing functions and necessities of a very practical well-being. Here is the human spirit's joy in energy expended and satisfaction in the efficient use of skills and materials, this experience poised in the fluidity of its self-expression. What a phrase, with its experienced, poised in the fluidity of its self-expression. Isn't that real beautiful use of the English language? When you're chopping wood, you really have to focus. If you don't, you lose bits of your body. I lost a tiny little bit of my thumb when I lost attention once chopping wood. And with a chainsaw, it's even more important to focus your attention. So, present-centered attention is enhanced when we are in danger. Think about driving a car. However much talking you want to do to the person sitting beside you, you focus, don't you, on the danger that you're in. And we are in danger now as a species. And this is not a bad thing. This is what we need now to move to the next level of spiritual consciousness. All is going according to plan, in one sense. It's just that we can't see the plan unless we really step back and have a proper look, really, circumspect look at things. And that is that eventually, winter's coming. To deal with that.